Okay. It's good to have you back, Adrian.
Oh, it's wonderful
Yes,
to
it
be
is.
back.
So how did we go with the lessons for last week?
The
Who wants
ones that
to
we've been
start?
working on for 2 weeks now.
Yep, yep.
That's good because it was 2 weeks ago since I was here. So you're
Perfect.
still working on the same week that I was. No catching up for me.
It was a good one. Well, mine from last week was, is my forgiveness creating separation or atonement? Forgiveness through the Holy Spirit lies simply in looking beyond error from the beginning and thus keeping the error unreal for you.
Oh,
How did it go? I don't feel like I've been tested. I feel like I'm doing it.
Hmm.
There has not been a single re- connection or conversation that I have not felt that connection.
Awesome.
So, yeah,
Wow.
I'm
That's
sure there'll
good.
come a
See?
time, but this week was pretty cruisy.
Well, I'm still working on my seeing my brother as he truly is my gateway to heaven. And so I keep coming back to that one idea that that I think it's really true. Unlike, well, I've always thought it was true, but I really think it's true because I've been proving it to myself over and over and over again. As I start to judge people, I stop myself and I look for the perfection and claim that perfection rather than claim whatever I'm making up about them. And realizing that if I make that up, I make it real to me and I enslave myself into this expectation of judgment back. And therefore, it just turns into, excuse the language, a big shit show in my head. So the other way, I actually get a lot more peace. As I've been working with my clients, I've been introducing this concept as well. It's like, ultimately, you're going to croak. And what are you going to croak with? Either you're going to croak in absolute attachment to God, or you're going to die in writhing in fear about all the things you weren't able to realize in your spiritual evolution because you spend so much time condemning others. And that's what happens for most people. We spend a lot of time judging and condemning others. Here in America, there's a lot to condemn. A lot to condemn. And I'm doing my best to just like, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's happening just the way it's supposed to be happening. But yeah, it's been good for me.
Hmm. I read a quote the other day. I can't remember exactly where it came from, but it kind of stuck with me about, there's no point watching the news because, we've always lived in our villages and we hear news, but we don't, it's not something we have to stream into our home every day. We need to be aware of the people around
yeah.
us and our village and our community.
The news is just all fear. It's how they make you
It
fear
is.
things. Everything's fear. Even ads on the radio. I was listening to the radio the
Yes.
other day when I was coming back from. I took Shirley back down to Adelaide and drove back up. And the ads are just fear based. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. Oh my
Hmm.
God.
Mm,
Stop it. Just stop it. I
mm,
don't understand why it's gone that way and why it's being allowed to continue.
It sells.
yeah.
Hmm.
It does, but people are just getting sicker and sicker. Like we don't have a healthcare system here. We have a sick care system. And I'm sure
No,
it's the
it's
Hmm.
same
true.
in the States as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's definitely that. Every single
Yes.
commercial on television at night, especially, it's either lawyers or it's pharmaceutical companies.
Absolutely.
And they're the
Take this
richest
drug.
company in the world, the pharmaceutical
Oh,
company.
they run the world.
Yeah, they do.
Yep. Take this medication and it will be absolutely fabulous, except for the fact that you could die of a stroke. You could lose your vision. Your index finger could fall off, but you are going to feel so fabulous. Look at these people dancing in heaven. It's like, what? What?
And then,
All about
then the next commercial is now you take this drug to combat the side effects of that
of the
drug,
other drug.
of the other
Exactly.
drug, and then
Right.
you're perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's disgusting. Absolutely
Mm.
disgusting.
Yes.
Yes, it's interesting.
Arlie, how did you go?
Well, I had the same one as Gary, but I'll read it out again. Seeing my brother as he truly is my gateway to heaven. I've got a lot of work to go on that. I just do. I
I
find
can't
the
imagine that
judgment.
about you, Carly.
Yeah, well,
Tell us your most challenging event with this particular one in the last 2 weeks.
well, the one that springs to mind would be, how I was saying about with Kevin and his having problems with other people
Yes.
that he's sort of gone to a war with is judging the whole situation of like other people going to war with each other over stuff, people that were friends and then they're not, and they've got to punish each other and see who can hurt each other the most and all that. It's
Oh, sounds like fun.
I find that
Right
I'm
in your
very judgy.
backyard.
Mm,
Hmm. There's
Yeah,
you're being
painful to watch.
tested.
mm.
Linda, what was your lesson from 2 weeks ago?
Atonant. That's a new word. Okay, we'll use that instead of atonement.
Yes, it's
Cannot atonement cannot be separate because it comes from love.
Mm.
Yeah. And I have actually struggled with that this week or the last 2 weeks, I have to say. But my mind has been in a different place as well. And I've got a cat hair stuck in my eye, excuse me. So yeah, it's been difficult to do that. And I picked it because it was a short sentence.
Short but powerful.
No, I didn't. I just felt like I should say that. Anyway.
Adria, have you got any news that you want to share about how you've been going? Have you been studying or watching or embodying what with your Course in Miracles in your life?
Well, the thing is about when you were talking about forgiveness, ever since Gary at our last meeting of the TMRT people, that you said find the person that is the pebble in your shoe. And of course, the person I went to was my mother immediately. And now I've worked so hard on the forgiveness and on letting go. And now there are physical things in my body that are coming up that I had managed to put down, push down before and sublimate. But now the lower back is beginning to relax, even though, I've seen in the MRI, I see what's going on, but nevertheless, the pain is lessening because now we're working on the neck. And so when you find that area has to do with forgiveness and with releasing and letting go. And when I am able to see the pebble in my shoe as the mother that my soul chose, when I can see that and understand that and see her raising her hand in love saying, I'll be the bad guy. And oh boy, did she do a good job. So all I can say is seeing her in that way, seeing that being as someone loving. Yes, someone very wounded who couldn't love in this earth, but how beautifully the job was done, which makes me who I am. So it's this circle that has changed position, has changed light in some way. That while I couldn't get to all of the forgiveness that I wanted to, now I'm going beyond that into the spiritual reason, and I'm more at peace than I've ever been. And I actually did a video on it, Gary, and mentioned you, because that process really released something in me because I realized how much power we all have
Yep.
to wound or to heal, that this hand can kill you and this hand can heal you. And that it's a choice, it's a conscious choice. And that is one of the reasons why I've been so afraid of my own power in my life. So it's deeper than forgiveness, it's higher than forgiveness. It's
It
something really.
is, I'll say this to you. It is literally a fear of power
Yes, I agree.
because
I'm
one of the
understanding.
things, yeah, one of the biggest shifts I ever had was working on that one thing with timeline therapy. Well, really, my idea of timeline therapy is different than the traditional. But when I made the shift with that particular process, I was stunned at the results I got a year later. Like everything shifted. Everything shifted.
I believe you, and I believe that
Went from
something
seeing
has.
like 5 clients a week, a year later, I was having 70 people rock up at a seminar I didn't even publicize, paying me
Wow.
$1,000 each person at the door. And I'm like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And
Yes,
it's because
yes,
I finally healed all the lifetimes I had where I had misused power and hurt people, not by intent, but by
right,
a
right.
lack of knowledge.
Yes, yes, me too.
So, yes, I mean, that's a big one for many, many, many people is fear of your own power.
It's huge, huge.
Yeah,
And both parents brought it
yeah,
to me, and I was blaming it all on my father. It was my mother too, because I understood the magnitude of the hurt that one can instill in someone else.
yeah,
So I figured, that's why. That's why I get it. Yeah.
yeah.
So astounding. And Gary, thank you again because it so that has been huge. It's been a huge shift in here and in here.
I was hoping people would get value from that process. So
I sure did. Hmm.
good, good, good,
Carly's here, but can you talk or show us, Carly, or
She's
are
got an
you on
awful
the road
cold.
driving?
You got she's saying spiritual true reason.
I can talk, but I've
Oh,
got
you
a
can.
cold.
Good, Carly.
I've got a
Okay.
cold, so I'm just hanging out.
All right. You just rug up and absorb.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shall we start reading?
Yes, we shall. Did everyone get it? Give a go? Did Linda give a go? Okay.
Did we? Yep, everyone. Good.
Yep.
And I've had a bit of a play to see if I can make that bigger, and I can't. Is that readable?
Oh, it's perfect.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
that's good.
So we did
So
number 5 last week. I'll just move it up then so we can do number 6.
5 was the unhealed healer. Is that true? Or no? I don't know if I'm in the right place.
You're looking at the book. It's page
Yeah,
69.
page 69,
106.
169. Page
169.
169. Yeah.
Okay.
Who wants to read? I vote for Adria since we haven't heard your beautiful voice for such a long time.
Okay. So we're reading number 6.
Yes.
Follow the Holy Spirit's teaching in forgiveness, then, because forgiveness is his function, and he knows how to fulfill it perfectly That is what I meant when I said that miracles are natural. And when they do not occur, something has gone wrong. Miracles are merely the sign of your willingness to follow the Holy Spirit's plan of salvation, recognizing that you do not understand what it is. Oh, I love that. His work is not your function. And unless you accept this, you cannot learn what your function is.
Wow.
That's huge.
Mm.
Miracles are merely the sign of your willingness to follow the Holy Spirit's plan of salvation, recognizing that you do not understand what it is. Wow. Hmm.
I love that. That kind of feels like a little bit of surrender is required.
A lot of
Mhm.
it.
Even though you don't get it, let it go.
Yeah.
Willingness to follow. And his work is not your function.
It's good, isn't it? Because we always, well, I'm always trying to understand stuff.
Me too. I drove my mother crazy when I was little. My favorite word was why. Her favorite word was no. Hmm.
Mm. Do we need to break that up? Or are we just sitting with it because it's so beautiful?
I think we're sitting there because it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Move it up a bit. Who wants to read number 7 then?
I'll go for it.
Thank you.
The confusion of functions is so typical of the ego that you should be quite familiar with it by now. The ego believes all functions belong to it, even though it has no idea what they are. This is more than mere confusion. It is particularly dangerous combination of grandiosity and confusion that makes the ego likely to attack anyone and anything for no reason at all. This is exactly what the ego does. It is unpredictable in its responses because it has no idea of what it perceives.
So it's fear.
Yep.
Confusion often brings fear, doesn't it?
Mhm.
It does. Yeah, it's all fear based. Like when you watch alien movies or action movies or what have you, the first thing they do is fire at whatever it is, the alien or the runner, without asking questions first, because it's all fear. We don't know what it is. We're scared of it. We're just going to shoot it.
Mm.
Well, that's what all
Is
prejudice is as well, Linda. I
Yeah.
mean, all the racial
Mhm.
stuff, all the gender stuff, all of the international stuff. We don't understand another group of people, and therefore we fear them.
Hmm.
The whole world and every war that's ever been fought is based on that one principle.
Yeah. That's actually why I used to love Star Trek so much as well, because they often, like Gene Roddenberry created this incredible world, reality where, there was all races and the idea was to explore. It wasn't to actually fight with everybody. It was
Mm.
always about finding out more about the alien or whatever, the world or wherever they're going. It wasn't about having to fit it into what their reality was.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mm. I don't think we need to do much more with that one, do we?
Yep.
Who wants to read number 8?
Coralie, stop fighting with Linda. You know you want to read it.
Okay.
You go, Coralie.
If you have no idea what is happening, how appropriately can you expect to react? You might ask yourself, regardless of how you may account for the reaction, whether its unpredictability places the ego in a sound position as your guide. Let me repeat that the ego's qualifications as a guide are singularly unfortunate, and that it is a remarkably poor choice as a teacher of salvation. Anyone who elects a totally insane guide must be totally insane himself. Nor is it true that you do not realize the guide is insane. You realize it because you realize it because I realize it, and you have judged it by the same standard I have.
I'm going to use that singularly unfortunate. I love that term.
It was like me on a 4-hour webinar with a head cold, and I was falling asleep and I bumped the speaker. And I heard the lady say, she said something about the scenario, and I thought to myself, well, that includes her going around talking to people. And I said it out loud, what I was thinking. And then I realized I had unmuted myself, and I thought that unfortunate event was my ego mind half asleep answering that is the truth as well. And so, yeah, with about 40 people listening to my,
Oh my.
That was singularly unfortunate.
and I listened to the whole thing and not once unmuted until that one moment for about 10 seconds.
Oh my.
And I honestly didn't even think the whole thing. I just, in that one moment, had that thought and unmuted.
Oh
Damn.
wow.
So it was a very unfortunate moment of my ego qualifications.
Do we need any more of that one?
No, I think we're good.
I'll read number 9 then. The ego literally lives on borrowed time, and its days are numbered. Do not fear the last judgment, but welcome it, and do not wait, for the ego's time is borrowed from your eternity. This is the second coming that was made for you as the first was created. The second coming is merely the return of sense. Can this possibly be fearful?
Well, that was short, sweet, and to the point.
I know. Days are numbered.
I love this bit of the line, the ego's time is borrowed from your eternity.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I haven't studied any Christian texts. So the second coming, is that the resurrection of Christ, or is that what
Yeah.
the Bible refers to? Yeah. So it's actually within us and not another physical person. Love it. powering through these a bit. Who wants to do number 10?
I will.
Thanks, Linda.
What can be fearful but fantasy? And who turns to fantasy unless he despairs of finding satisfaction in reality? Yet it is certain that you will never find satisfaction in fantasy, so that your only hope is to change your mind about reality. Only if the decision that reality is fearful is wrong can God be right. And I assure you that God is right. Be glad then that you have been wrong, but this was only because you did not know who you were. Had you known, you could no more have been wrong than God can.
This makes me think, because I've never had children, so I've never really experienced it and never really been around young children much. But so there must come a point when we are without ego, and then somehow we develop the ego, and then if you're lucky, like we are, we're exploring ways to go beyond that and create atonement and connection with our people and our universe. So is that what happens? So when children are babies, are they without ego, and are they connected, and then something happens?
I think we're
Or
born
is
with
it even
ego.
before birth?
Ego, they talk about ego being, ego's time is borrowed from your eternity. So as long as we take breath, I would have thought that there would be ego.
Yeah. So Gary, with the way that we come into the world, then we've decided that we need to learn something. So that we need the ego then to actually get here.
Ask the question in a different way, B.
Um, how does the ego serve us then when if we've gone, um, we're, we're in eternal love, and then we get bored and we decide we need to come to Earth to learn a lesson. Um, is that the ego kicking in to say that you need the lesson, or when does the ego come into play in all of this?
That is a super complex question. Let me see if I can answer it in the best way possible here. And as we know that whatever comes out of our mouths in the viewpoint of thinking we're separate from God is ego. Ego is the belief that we have an identity separate from our divine spark. So ego is with us and comes with us like universal mind, a collection of all of what they say in India sanskaras, all of the experiences that we've ever experienced in any lifetime forms a certain filter that we see our world through, no matter what body we incarnate into. Until we can return those perceptions to the perception of it's all perfect. I am the same as my brother, as that ant on the ground crawling right now, as that bird in the sky. I am the same essence of it all, and I see perfection everywhere. Then in the ego, we will be judging, we will be compartmentalizing, we will be categorizing, and we will be evaluating. And so that always builds fear. Fear eventually turns into an emotional state that we will behave then and do actions that will bring ramifications to us karmically, which further binds us in the wheel of birth and death. So until we can take a stand to see the world through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, then I think we're pretty much trapped.
Mm.
And this is why, that whole thing that I forget who it was. I think it was
Mm.
Corley, that seeing my brother as he truly is my gateway to heaven. So I'm starting to view it, having just experienced a death, um, that life is precious, life is very short. The inevitability of our passing is without question. Robert and I looked at Robert's mom as she passed last week, and, and we looked at each other and said, well, that's us if we're really lucky. If we're really lucky, that's us, gasping for air, 95 years old in a morphine daze.
Hmm.
And she had a good death.
Mm.
She didn't know she was dying until the very, 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 very end.
Hmm.
I actually went down and I talked to her and I said, Doris, you're going to see a light. It's going to have a magnetic pull because she wouldn't leave her body. It's going to have a magnetic pull. You have to go into the light. When you go into the light, your relatives, God, angels, Christ will be there. You have to go to the light. I left, came upstairs, answered the door because she wouldn't let go. And then talked to the hospice nurse. We went back down, probably 10 minutes, and she had gone
Mm.
right after I had that conversation.
Mhm.
The bottom line is we're in those states, we're in such fear of losing our bodies because we think that's who we are. We will not go.
It's true.
Mhm.
But as soon as we have that ancient memory of who we are, we go. And it's always fear-based because we've judged, we've condemned, we've felt separated from God, we've claimed ourselves separated from God. And we don't know what's on the other side, but there's only literally eternal ecstatic love on the other side. I can't wait to die. I can't wait. Okay, maybe I can wait a little bit.
We can definitely wait.
Yeah, I'm going to wait a little. But the bottom line is, though, there's something joyous on the other side.
Mm.
And that's what I think ego is. It's just this constant idea that we're separated, and then we judge, and then we condemn, and then we hold grudges, and then we have regrets. And all those things are part of our ego, which creates this emotional state, which drives the behavior, which further binds us. Unless our behaviors are done out of unconditional love and total celebration for the perfection of the creation around us, we're creating karma. And the karma will bind us. That was very
Thank you, Gary.
long. That was very
So
long.
that kind of makes sense as well, because that's when so I'm trying to work out how children who are supposedly so pure, but I've never got that.
Oh, who is so pure?
Children.
Oh no.
I,
No, no, no. They come in with little horns. They have a predisposition to filter the world a certain way. I remember when I was sitting with the master during the last interview I had, and literally last time I saw him, I was sitting there and I was gay. My wife was there at the Dara with me at the ashram. And I thought I was going to go there and I was going to be straight. I was going to be so happy in my marriage. This curse of homosexuality would have left me and I would be free finally from this horrible burden that I carried. And I wasn't. And I sat back and I said to Maharaji, Maharaji, I'm terrified to go home. Let me stay here in India. Just let me just stay. I'll work in the fields. I'll work in the I camp. I'll work in the Bojam Bandar. I'll feed people. I just want to stay. And he knew exactly why. And he said, brother, souls come into this world with a certain predisposition. Meaning, you're queer. You came in this way. So you're going to have to deal with it. And then he said, you have to face your difficulties. And I was like, oh God, what does that mean? And then it said, I have to come out. I have to face who I am. If I don't face who I am, it will always be this lie I'm living. And then he said, your karma's not here. You have to face your difficulties, and you came in with a certain predisposition. And what that did for me was it said, you're not wrong, you're not sick, you're not perverted or twisted. And this is the road you have to follow in order to reach the next level of your evolution, which I always suspected that I wanted to bridge my spirituality with my sexuality. So I didn't have this overwhelming feeling that I was doomed to hell, because of course that's what we're all imprinted with. And so he freed me from that. And I think every one of us came in with a certain predisposition to see the world the way we see the world. And then we beat ourselves up for that predisposition, but it is a predisposition that has been honed for how many lifetimes, who the heck knows? We've come in to work through that and bring it to that one altar of, it's perfect. I judge nothing. And I really do believe that that is the way out of this maze of birth and death and action and reaction and the karmic wheel. See it as perfection, judge nothing.
Thank you. Carly, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of my twins when they were born, but I had the feeling they were God in my belly, and I always saw them as God. I had this energetic knowing they were God. So then when they were born, I could see their innocence. Like Jessica at age 2 wouldn't let me walk on the path where the ants were going across. And she put a hand against me without speaking. And I looked down and here's these row of ants. And I could see how pure she was, that she didn't even want to step on an ant, a living creature at that age.
It's beautiful.
And so she hasn't really changed from that. But like Gary's saying, her karma, her genetic karma on Ian's side brought those other health issues from birth. And you didn't know how they were going to play out, because with Ian, they've played out a certain way. But with Jessie, they've been different in a bit more depth. But you don't know. And that's what the doctor said at birth. And so it's like Gary's saying, don't judge it. Like it is the karma. And I think because I haven't judged it, Jessica's always stayed pure, like her 2-year-old self. But then we've got the personality dynamics of me as an adult, Ian as an adult from our childhood. And then that you can see how the kids model that. So it really is their karma, because they came into this family.
Yeah.
From, they chose this family before they got here. Anyway, so back to our paragraph, it really depends on what you focus on and what, for me, I knew they were spiritual, those beautiful children in my belly. I just knew. I knew they were the divine, and it felt like they were.
Thank you, Carly.
Yeah, it was the pure focus until they got to age 3 and then started exploring, and I had to work out how to contain them when they were going different directions, crossing a road. So that's where, our safety control, all of those come in, because it looks like you're, holding your children back, but you're keeping them safe. But depending on the box, depending on how they grow up learning that.
Yeah, that's a balance there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of parents who are wrapping their kids in cotton wool, and it doesn't serve them. And they grow up and they can't function. And I wonder, if you can take the freedom of the fact that they've come into this world with their own karma and they're going to find their own way, and anything you do, they're going to come up with a lesson from whatever you give them. So why wrap them in cotton wool? Because isn't that fear as well?
Yes. And that's how this generation is being brought up. The last two generations have been brought up fear-based.
I think the whole world has been brought up that from time immemorial. And I
Oh
think
yeah, but it seems more apparent now. Like the fear is people know that it's fear that can keep people contained, and which is exactly what they're doing. They just want to contain people. They want to separate people. I mean, COVID was a pure example of that. It was all about separation. Again, if it's not black and white, then it's separation of something else, in my humble opinion.
no, well, it's very true. Very true.
Shall we do number 11? We
Yeah.
have time. Who wants to
V,
read
you've
that one
not
then?
read, you've not read yet, have you, V?
I have, but I'm happy to read another one. Mine was quite short, actually. So, number 11. The impossible can happen only in fantasy. When you search for reality in fantasies, you will not find it. The symbols of fantasy are of the ego, and of these you will find many. But do not look for meaning in them. They have no more meaning than the fantasies into which they are woven. Fairy tales can be pleasant or fearful, but no one calls them true. Children may believe them, and so for a while the tales are true for them. Yet when reality dawns, the fantasies are gone. Reality has not gone in the meanwhile. The second coming is the awareness of reality, not its return.
That's an interesting look at it.
Mm.
We have to do number 12 as well to finish off that chapter.
Mm.
And it's only little.
Linda, you want to read that?
Sure. Behold, my child, reality is here. It belongs to you and me and God and is perfectly satisfying to all of us. Only this awareness heals because it is the awareness of truth.
Mm.
So the reality is always there,
Mhm.
and it's about turning away from the fantasy, which includes the fear, I would think. Turning away from that to realize that it's not important.
That, and I think the reality that we are all intrinsically of one source in a myriad of different forms.
Mhm.
For me, that's the awareness of reality.
Can you say that again, Gary?
Yeah. My sense of reality is that it is the awareness that we are all the same aspect of the source in a myriad of different forms.
Thank you.
So, Linda, even they who are doing all this, so they are still of the same source and they've come in to experience their own journey. And we don't need to play in that ballpark.
Mm.
That's how I take it. It's funny how I was kind of stuck on like children, and then paragraph 11 is all about children.
Yeah.
Do we need to, anybody got any aha moments from any of that? Or I'm not sure that I want to go on to the next one in such a short space of time. The next section. Or do we?
It just further reinforced what I've been holding on to for the last couple of weeks is that I cannot, the way that I demonstrate the action of seeing reality is by not judging another. That's the action I personally have to do in order to stop this automatic cascade of judging, evaluating, and fearing. When I do that, I have far more peace. And I'm just sticking with my same lesson from 2 weeks ago. I'm going to wear that one out.
I kind of feel like I forget the miracles. I'm often grateful for lots of different things, but I'm going to take as my lesson, miracles are merely the sign of your willingness to follow the Holy Spirit's plan of salvation, recognizing that you do not understand what it is. And I don't need to.
You don't.
I love that, V. Mine is you, me, God belong to the awareness of truth, and this truth heals.
That's lovely, Callie.
We missed you too, Carly. You've been away for a while. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I've been wanting to arrive back to our little group.
Anyone else got a lesson?
Yeah, I do. I'm taking ego's qualifications as a guide are singularly unfortunate.
Love it.
And I love two of them is miracles are merely the sign of your willingness, like V chose, to follow the Holy Spirit's plan of salvation, recognizing that you do not understand what it is. And then the next line, his work is not your function, and unless you accept this, you cannot learn what your function is.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Linda?
I've got two. The confusion of functions is so typical of the ego that you should be quite familiar with it by now. It is a particularly dangerous combination of grandiosity and confusion that makes the ego likely to attack anyone and anything for no reason at all.
Mm.
It's an interesting lesson for the week.
Mm.
That was like me in my half sleep, head cold, clicking the button, unmute, and thinking in that one moment. Because honestly, with my head cold, I wasn't thinking the whole time until that one moment. And then the
Well,
ego unhooked the.
someone needed to hear it, Carly. So
That's exactly
It
what I
was
was
the most
thinking.
bizarre. And I love what you said, Gary, about no, don't judge another, because that just leaves you open in the vibration frequency to be in the truth that heals, like in the receptive truth of the divine trust.
Yeah.
And so when you're not judging it, you are a clear channel.
nice. Well, we're a bit early today, but I think that was beautiful. I love finishing on the end of a section because it's the last paragraph's always magical.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for getting us
Sometimes.
to read that, Linda.
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
gang, I got another 3 hours of work to do before I go to bed tonight.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
Hit the ground running. So you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for showing up. I'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Yeah. Thanks
Have a
everybody.
great week. Love
Thank
you
you.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.